built around the plant. And bio. Now, the stigma attached to cannabis is that smoking lit makes you high, but in Europe and Canada, there's a large industry built around the plant, which includes medicines and biofuels.
Yeah, so with more than 50 medicinal uses for weed, cannabis is not just the leisurely narcotic of choice for recreational use. From sweets to chocolates, due to the fast-growing market, there are networks of farms and manufacturing facilities that are rising right here in South Africa and beyond.
Yeah, now to chat about the upcoming Expo, Dr. Ahmed Jamaluddin, the Cannabis Development Council of South Africa Treasurer, is in studio to chat about the possible high returns of the business of cannabis. Welcome to Weekend Dawn.
Morning.
Thank you for having us. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for newsroom for millennials. Everything green.
There we go.
Yes, I mean, we had an exhibition. The grass is green. Now we're going to take it here.
And the box.
The box are green.
The future is green.
The future is definitely here.
So the green economy, I mean, it seems to be a catchphrase right now on everyone's lips, people trying to tap into this market. But for those who don't understand what that looks like, I mean, paint the picture in terms of what South Africa and the green economy with regards to cannabis is currently about.
Absolutely. So part of a bigger picture, one, we just have our plant returning to us. A bit late. So inclusionary, of course. So us as the Cannabis Development Council of South Africa, the gateway to enabling everyone, and part of the mandate is education. So, for example, the upcoming Expo would be the place to meet strategic partners and mentors, including myself. But indeed, it's inclusionary, and we are talking, the buzzword is on the medicine side. Yeah. But for me, as a permitted cannabis farmer who is onto the third crop, us just returning from North America and a delegate in Canada now, our thoughts are that, of course, it's not just South African, it's global. On the industrial hemp side, which is usually not the glamorous side, 60,000 uses at least, and as we become more legal, more R&D gets done, therefore more inclusionary. I mean, the other day I got a call from a guy saying, what do you do with the dust? And I'm like, now I've heard it all. So they're compacting it and making blinds and flooring.
What?
Right. So beginning to end, waste not, want not, and recycling of the crop rotation. But what was interesting is to say that the world is won through cannabis, the unification of common-minded people. Hence the importance of things like Newsroom and the millennials to drive it forward, because it's a commodity as a farmer, but it's the unification of common-minded people from which we can keep possibly adding different products. And that for us is the driver. But we're open for cannabis is what we're saying in South Africa. And I always say, in a little small town, call it small or call it quaint. Ladysmith, Nambiti, South Africa, the big five, where you can medicate. And it's cheap.
Okay.
Hence, the new Amsterdam.
Right.
And cheap. Value for everyone. Yeah. Sustainability, loyalty and trust, diversity, through cannabis is the unifying factor. One world, one nation. Now, even on our beauty of our latitude, the plant outdoors does not do this but in South Africa. Hence our oil and gas. Now, our farms, and we've done it on my farm, can grow two seasons. You cannot do that in, say, for example, Colorado because of winter.
Yeah.
Argument being, the farm produces more, it is more valuable. Agreed. The value of South African lands goes up.
Okay.
Right.
I see.
So in creating efficiency and by sharing information and resources, you will release the equity to create employment and sustainable charity. Now, human beings are generally not naturally generous. So from a point of view of wanting to reduce your taxes, you will pay your employees and you will be sustainably charitable. That's the idea for me on cannabis.
So I mean, with that said, what are some of the opportunities available for people along this value chain? I mean, you mentioned there are so many avenues that one can explore.
Wow, it's so beautiful. I mean, it was said, Jas said, in every country, city or village. And when we planted, I remember years ago saying to my wife when we met overseas as a medical doctor, that one day, as far as your eye can see, And so when we planted the crop, as far as your eye could see.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, the idea being that this is the new thought, that life is not competitive, it's synergistic. It was set up previously, and we are forgiving, makes us different from the downpresser, that it's inclusionary. So there is a place for everyone, and for everyone a place. So for example, with say my waste comes cosmetics. She is not a competitor to me, she's a synergist.
Okay.
Right, so on our crop, for example, from the roots, whether it be tea or balms, to the stems, whether that ends up becoming blocks, flowers into oil, seeds into hemp seed oil, high protein powder, which livestock, or exporting seed banks or enabling locally the growth of our farmers. Because up until this point, we have, through the blessing of government, because remember, we're synergistic. Government is inclusionary.
Yeah, they have to be.
With corporate and our eye care systems, which are, our traditional healers and leaders, Amakosi, Khoisan, Rasta. This also has to be respected because it adds another dimension, something that you would never have seen in the West. And when you amalgamate Western and traditional medicine, for example, wow. Something different. So yes, an opening for everyone, and the idea is also inclusion into current industries. So say for example you take a little town, Newcastle, struggling a little bit, but it already has plastic, it already has roof sheeting, it already has paint. You're just saying CMT clothing, here's another product that's local, add it into your arsenal.
Ah, okay.
Right, so it's really just a crop, a new commodity in current existing businesses. Hence the inclusion of things like AFASA, Ponalu, Black Women's Farmers Association, etc., which is how we're working and how we're moving forward. So with government enabling corporate and our eye care systems, and then of course the world.
So, Dr. Ahmed, the expo that is obviously taking place is a means to get people into one room. So where is this taking place? How do we get tickets? What's that story?
So the 28th through the 1st at the Sandton Convention Center, again with initially the issue of education and removal of stigma.
Aha,
Right.
yes.
Now, with you millennials, I think your stigma is long gone. I can judge from that, which is great. But anyway, it's the education. So people like Expo, particularly, is one of the strategic partners of Cannabis, who remain grateful because took the stand over time. So Silas, Clarissa, and Sarah, for example, will be at Sandton. And what happens is you meet your strategic partners and mentors. It's your gateway to Cannabis world. So CDCSA, of course, will be there. That's our mandate. I will spend the whole time there, which allows you to remove your questions and be enabled. How do I become a member? How do I meet like-minded people?
How do I become a grower? How do I get the license?
How do I
All of
get
that.
the license?
Aha.
He's nailed it.
I've nailed it. So we'll catch you at the Sandton Convention Center. That date again?
It's the 28th through the 1st.
28th
And
to
it
the
won't
1st.
be the same without you guys.
Thank you for the invite, Dr. Ahmed.
I'm just wondering what some of the myths that you're speaking about. What are you hoping to dispel through that?
Well, of course, historically, and I'm, as an example, a timber farmer, and yes, we are forgiving. So if you take why, as an example, was hemp made illegal? Well, the Rothschilds happen to be the largest timber plantation owners in Canada. Why would you have hemp that can produce the same thing every 4 months that a plantation takes 10 years to do? Yet we are forgiving.
There we go.
So dispelling of stigma. Now, if you take some of the big things, Ritalin, kids that all seem to have ADHD, we were just managed through discipline. Epilepsy, things like fibromyalgia. If you were going to compete with my business in opioids, I would spend money on stigma.
Yeah.
And so now we're removing those stigma. So in parting, I would like to say, of course, if you consider a dietary supplement, just CBD non-psychoactive, as your proactive disease control or anti-aging, right? If everyone is on CBD, who will go to war?
No one.
They might declare war, but we won't show up.
Yeah. That's it.
Well, you see, because war is expensive and war makes money. But I see your point there. Dr. Ahmed Jamaluddin from the Cannabis Development Council of South Africa, of course, just joining us in studio to take the conversation further about the business of cannabis and perhaps its prospects for potential investors. Again, the Expo is taking place at the end of the month. Do go about on all the social media platforms. I'm sure you can find out information there.